Hello folks, this is a how-to video to show you how I make this particular style of turn counter for Flames of War. I've shown this counter before in detail itself. There is a video on the YouTube channel and pictures on the Facebook page. But as you can see, it's a really quite attractive way of marking your turns, and it uses basically bits and pieces you've got lying around. So you can see here, the core of the turn counter is this spindle, which you get in the Gale Force 9 barbed wire, rope, chain, accessories. It's really quite handy. You can see it's got a gap in the middle there, which I'm going to seal using an MDF base. I'll set it on another MDF base to give it a bigger base so I can get all the figures on it. I've got a pile of random figures here that I've nearly finished. I've really just got to paint the skin tones on them. The turret that's actually going to mark the turns is an old Panzer IV turret I've had lying around, and that'll go on top in the same way as this Panther has. I've been thinking, you can use the Panzer IV as a rotating element to this, but you could actually have the whole spindle rotating. It could be mounted in such a way that you could put a mark on it, and then instead of having the turns on the top, you could have them on the bottom, the turn numbers that is, and you could turn the whole thing around, perhaps with a scene on the top, more figures underneath, maybe even fighting in Berlin on the street level in the sewers. Lots and lots of different things you could do. So that's something I might do for another one if I ever do another one. The Flames of War blister backing, you'll see what that's for later, but that does actually have a purpose in this. And then I've got some 28mm numbers that I can put on as decals. So the next stage for me, other than finishing off the skin on these infantry, is going to be preparing the central spindle. I shall make it so that the turret can be magnetised into the top MDF base there. And then we should end up with something like this. This is a German themed one with lots of different German infantry and guns and tank crew, whereas this has got, well, it's going to have Russians, Romanians, Hungarians, Germans, British, Americans, gun crew, tank crew, infantry, engineers. So it's got a little bit of everything, just to give a general Flames of War theme. So we'll come back in the next stage and see how we prepare this spindle. That's the initial work on the spindle complete. The turret's sitting in place. It's got a rare earth magnet on it. Oops, you can see there with a little recess, excuse me. And then let's see if I can show you, if you can see in there, there's a rare earth magnet just in a piece of cardboard, which is there to fill that hole. And there you go. This I showed, the top bit should be built up with milliput, just to, I'm not sure what it's going to look like yet. It's certainly not going to look like the rest of a Panzer IV, that's for sure. But that sets the turret in place and creates the basic structure. So the next thing I think I'm going to be working on is going to be the lettering. Now you remember I showed a blister before, well, the backing of a blister, and this is what I'm using that for. I want to have the Flames of War lettering around the core of the spindle. So using milliput and using the backing as a template, I've basically created the lettering. As you can see, it's not 100% accurate. You can see some red where the background letter can be seen, but it's accurate enough for what we need. It's You could cut the letters out, put them on top of some milliput and then carve down around it as well. That would also be a very good way of going forward. But I tend to always go for the quick way. And just slapping this on is probably the quickest way I was going to get it done. You notice I've used two blister backs. I didn't want to be working too close to any lettering. It just makes it too likely that a mistake will be made and you'll touch something you shouldn't. These letters should just peel off. The proof will be in the pudding, but I've done something similar before, just using the backing as a flat base to put something on. Because it's shiny, the milliput just peels off. The letters might be a bit fragile, so I need to be careful. But they will be lined up around the core, and they pretty much stretch all the way around. So I'll be putting them on a little bit out from the core. They won't be touching the back surface, and I shall be painting this red and black background to set them against in there. So more work on the lettering for me next. Now I've done a little bit more work on the spindle, and I've also got the letters off of the blister backing paper. They came off really quite easy. You just have to be careful. Just get your blade under the edge a little bit and it'll start to lift. It wants to come off because it's a shiny surface. Be careful of any stress points, you know, like the bottom of the L, for instance, where it's a very sharp corner, especially if you have made any worn areas. And what I've done here is placed them around the spindle, around the spindle to give me an idea of how much space they take up. To be honest, I thought they would have stretched a bit further around, but this is actually going to work out quite nice, because what I'm going to do, because Flames of War is a multi-period game, I'm going to put a big WW2 in the gap. Now I've stuck them on milliput just so that I can see how they stretch around that core. And how I'm going to place them, originally I decided, thought I was going to just have them stuck onto the base all the way around, but I think they will actually be quite hard to see when the infantry are in place, so I'm going to stick them around that central dark band that I've painted on this. So they'll be on little supports, just to have them not, so they're not contacting the surface, just so they're sticking out a bit. And then a big WW2 probably in this bit here where it's a little bit rough. Big WW2 so that we can see it's definitely themed as Flames of War World War II. So the next step is probably going to be to build up the groundwork a little, and once that's done, probably we'll start working on the lettering again. The figures are all ready to go. I probably should have trimmed the bases down. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to work around that and probably cover them with some kind of ground material. But if you can trim your bases down before you start painting, when you're putting your basing material down, there's less big flat disc-like bits of metal that are hard to hide. Anyway, good progress getting made. As you can see, I'm feeling my way through this. You know, the addition of the World War II isn't something that I'd planned. And my projects kind of go like that. Until I've done it once, it's always feeling my way through. And even then, if I've done it once, I might not do it the same the second time around as well anyway. But there you go, folks. Right, that's the lettering finished. I've peeled them off of the card. You just got to be careful with that process, but it's relatively straightforward. I painted the backs off them black just to make sure there was nothing uncovered in case there was some angle that might be visible. And then the WW2 that I've done for the back of the objective, I just put that together freehand, so to speak, because there wasn't anything on the card that I could use. It was of the right size. Now you could see I've given them a basic red colour. The lighting's not very good here. It's early in the morning in Scotland in winter, so there is no light. But it's basically a medium sort of red background, a lighter red surface, and then some orange for highlights. And I'm trying to catch all the little nicks and scratches. Just to accentuate any details. Trying not to think of anagrams for Flames of War, it'll probably drive me nuts. But these are all ready to get stuck on. I'll probably be doing that by putting little blobs of green stuff onto the back and then attaching around this core. I could use something a little bit more solid, but I think that would be quite tricky. It would involve super gluing as well, which could involve misting and all kind of things. So as long as I'm careful, and I can always start again if I make a mistake, I'll use the green stuff. So next step is to get these letters in place, because I can't do anything with the rest of the basing or the placing of the figures until the letters are there. But apart from that, there's not a hell of a lot left to do. Still got the turret to assemble and paint. I've got some airbrushing I'll be doing very soon, so I'll do that at the same time. And then the decals. These are a little small, to be honest, for what I need, but they'll do. I should be able to get them going up to turn 11. Can't do 12, unfortunately, but not with the decals that I've got. Get it up to turn 11, so quite a lot of turns on it. And shouldn't be too much more work to do. I've just got to make sure I do something appropriate with a basing material, I think, on the ground floor, and then decide exactly how many of these figures are going to go on. That will still allow a clear line of sight to the lettering. Right, here we have the green stuff in place. I put little blobs on the back that will allow me to attach it to the outer surface of that spindle there. The green stuff, it's not incredibly precise, but it will allow me to manoeuvre the piece to get the level of standoff that I want, and it'll be very easy to start again if I make a mistake, especially if I run out of space once I put all these letters on to put the WW2 on. So next time you see them, hopefully they'll be in place with no problems, but we'll see. I'll probably just keep that to myself. I don't want to put you through the hassles of trying something new, but fingers crossed it'll go okay. Right, so they actually went on first time without any real problems. You can see some green stuff showing, which I was concerned about, but that's going to be quite easy to touch up with a brush, I think. And there you go. I'll leave that to dry now. Come back to it tomorrow. Turned out not too bad. Now we'll have to see about the placing of the figures so that we don't lose too much of this, but it is still supposed to be a background as opposed to the main feature. Anyway, I'll leave it aside to dry. So things are moving on a little bit now. I've tidied up the lettering, painting the mounting points, and I think it should be fine. I don't think there's much green stuff going to be shown through, if any. And what I've done here is just blue tacked the figures in place just to get a feel for placings and to see if I had too much, too little, and I've managed to fit them all in without overdoing it. I want to have a lot of guys on the base to try and show a wide range of the different uniforms and nations that you might have in the Flames of War and World War II. So the next step will be getting them in place and basing them. I'll decide on how exactly I'm going to do that. I'll be using Milliput as a basing material because it's nice and stable and it's a large area to be basing. And then I'll decide what I'm going to put on in the way of ground material. But so far it's come along to plan. Quite happy with how it's going. The next step beyond that is the dial, so to speak, on the top, which I plan to have this Panzer IV turret. But I've had another thought, and as this is a generic turn counter, it doesn't have to have just one thing on top, and that doesn't just have to be a tank turret either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of these and get a magnet so it'll fit into there, and then I can mount any number of different guns, tanks, infantry, maybe a heavy machine gun team in a dug in position. All different kind of things can go on it, and they can be changed out depending on what nation I'm using, or maybe even something that has been painted specifically for a themed event or tournament. So whilst there's likely to be a Panzer IV turret in there, what I think I'm going to do in the first instance is actually a quad 20mm anti-aircraft gun that I've got kicking about. I think that'd make a really nice centrepiece, and I'll just put a mark on it so it can count down the turns. Ideally, and this is something I might get myself, is a Tiger I initial turret and paint it red in the Flames of War logo style. I think that would look really, really nice sitting on there to match the rest of the Flames of War logo on the spindle. So making good progress with it. So far it's not actually been a hell of a lot of work. The most work so far has been painting all of the infantry to go on it. I did try and video that process, guys, but it was an absolute horror show. In and out of focus, in and out of shot. I might be able to cobble together a few minutes painting sort of randomly between one figure and the next, but it's something I'm going to have to practice with, to be honest. I don't think it would make any meaningful contribution to this how-to guide, but it's coming along quite nice. Here's the original, so to speak, and you can see they're looking really quite different, and I think this style of turn counter, or any style of turn counter, you can use the same basic techniques and end up with something quite dramatically different. So, on to the basing next. Right, I've completed all the groundwork, so to speak. It was fairly straightforward, even though I was having to work around the figures and up against the outside of the spindle, but it went fine. And then gluing the flock on was no great problem. I'll have a bit of touching up to do on the figures. There's one there, for instance, I've not actually done his hair yet, and there's a couple of scrapes and things from having to get the brushes in and out of the of all these tight areas. I've kept to one theme all the way around for the basin because it's supposed to be just Flames of War as opposed to this other one which has got the infantry and the gun teams and such like in different settings. Everything from swamp to summer to snow to urban. This one I thought, it's generic, just have a generic finish. Now you can see on the edges I've done a black up to red kind of fade, just for that Flames of War theme. It might be hard to see, but it's on that little lip for the top base too. I painted that red just in case any of it shows through, and what I'm going to be placing on top of it is an anti-aircraft gun, German anti-aircraft gun, the Panzer IV that was the original plan, and also a Romanian 100mm Skoda. I've not actually got a turn counter from a Romanian army, so this means I can specifically use that for the Romanians. And then I've got 3 different features to put on straight away, and I can add more if I so wish. The numbers have yet to go on. I should be able to number it up to 11, I may have mentioned that before, but I've also got to put a 0 in just to be in a sort of neutral position as the game starts, and that'll give me 12 points on the face as well. And I might also put some kind of marker on turns 3 and 6, just because they're significant turns in most games. Most games don't go, well, there's no significance to the number of turns when you go beyond turn 8. So I'm only going up to 12, so you can only practically do so much, to be honest. But 12 will look nice because the numbers are smaller. I've got more space that I need to take up. So, not sure what I'm going to do next. I might work on all these, what am I going to call them, counter features? Turn counter features? Don't know. So it's a fair bit of work on all of them, to be honest. Lots of crew, airbrushing, all kind of things, a little bit of groundwork. Though I've not yet quite decided how I'm going to mount the Panzer IV onto that circular base, but we'll see. So I'll be back when I made a bit more progress. Right then, that's the finished product, all done. Now, I was planning to put that aircraft gun on the top of it there. Unfortunately, I don't have all the parts to do it. So, what I've got is a Panzer IV turret and a Romanian artillery piece. Let's bring this over a bit. I'll take this off. Now, the numbers are actually all black. I was thinking they were black outlined with white, so that's not ideal. They're not quite as clear as they could be. I've got them on pretty much as a clock face. The game will start with turn 0, I suppose. So that's the starting point as opposed to the finishing point for the counter. Let's see if I can lift it up and you can get a look around. You can see the Flames of War logo. And WW2. And then the all the various infantry, gun teams and everything. It makes quite a nice piece, I think. If I put it down and compare it to the German one, it's distinctively different. But but exactly the same kind of processes it's gone through. Here's the Panzer IV. Now, try and get some light on it. Apologies for the poor lighting. I've just gone for a very simple process. I haven't put a mount such as is on the Panther turret there. I've just put the Panzer IV on a magnet in that central location, and it works a treat. And incidentally, it can be swapped over with this Panther turret, should I choose to do so. But this is not exclusively a tank-based objective. You can put just about anything on top here. I put a little white marker just to show what turn you're at. Works really quite well. That could be anything. It could be another gun team, it could be an infantry group, it could be a command team, some warriors. Actually, having an objective such as this with nothing but warrior figures all the way around would also be really quite smart. But that's what the finished product looks like. Just flip this over again. So I've got a German turn counter, a generic turn counter, and I've just put this out as an example of a different kind of turn counter. This is from my Russians, and I've themed it to match my objective markers. You can see there's an area of swamp, blasted battleground, and urban ruins. And I have got similar objective markers to match. And this works with the base moving up through the battlefield, telling you what turn you're on. I've also got one for from a tank list. This would do my infantry list. So to sum up, it's quite simple process really. As long as you've got the bits and pieces that you need to do it. Even doing the lettering was a simple process. I mean, I used the template that the blister pack provided and just cut around it. You could extend that. I've got the Civil War too. You could extend it to any of the periods. Certainly going to be a conversation starter. Certainly going to make your army look nice when you've got your armies on parade at any kind of tournament. And it's a fun project as well. It's something that you can do in between the heavy lifting, so to speak, of getting all those units painted to get your armies together. Lots of tanks, infantry platoons, gun platoons. This is a good way of just breaking up the monotony of the whole thing. So there I've got 3 different kinds of turn counters. Who knows, there might be another one coming along. Version 4 might require me to make another one because if nothing else, the colours seems to have changed in it. Perfect timing. These are fun projects. Use up your bits box, test your imagination, maybe even impress your gaming buddies. So there you go folks, thanks for watching. I hope that's given you some ideas. You maybe want to try it yourself or try something similar. Thanks again.